All right, guys. Well, today I have another great interview. In this episode, I'm going to be chatting with Gina DiSanto. Gina is with Gina Core Fit. She has over 20 years experience in the fitness industry. She's an SGX coach, nutritionist, as well as many other things. Gina, thanks so much for coming on today.
Oh, thank you. This is an absolute honor to be a part of your show. I've been listening to you for, I think, all of your podcasts. So I totally love listening to you. Just wanted to say how awesome it is to be here. I'm very, very happy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm excited to have you on here. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk to you about. But before we jump in too much, if you can just let our listeners know just a little bit about you and kind of how you got into this whole OCR world.
Okay. Well, it actually started, I was going into fashion. That was what I wanted to do. I lived in England for a while and I wanted to study fashion. And I started there with the idea like fashion was my calling. But when I moved to Germany, this was right when the wall came down. So it was like 6 years after the wall came down. I moved to East Germany and I discovered aerobics. And I was like, this is super cool. I didn't really understand what it was all about, but I loved it. And I actually I didn't speak German, but they needed an aerobic instructor. And I thought, well, this is so cool. So I taught myself the numbers in German, the body parts in German, and I would just watch German television and I learned how to teach aerobics. So that's how I started the fitness industry is I started teaching aerobics. So I did that. I lived in Germany for 4 years. And then I moved to Miami Homestead where I couldn't work because I was a Canadian citizen and I couldn't be in America and work there. But I could actually own a business. So first I became a volunteer and started teaching at the YMCA. I taught Taibo, kickboxing, and again, I wanted to like do this properly. So I started taking martial arts and I got a brown belt in martial arts so I could be authentic in teaching this new style. So then when I got the opportunity to own my own business, that's when I started to really think this is still an amazing career to be in fitness. After that, I actually moved to St. Petersburg, where things got a little different and more stressful. I had two kids at the time, and I was only teaching some classes. And unfortunately, or depending on how you look at it, my husband at the time, we had a divorce. He actually cheated on me, which was a very big blow to my whole life. My whole life was turned upside down. Was with him for 19 years. But during this time, although I thought it was the end of the world for me, that's when I discovered obstacle course training. So that's what really pulled me out of my depression is that I thought this was something I could do on my own. And I was just super proud of myself that I could actually accomplish these things. I could climb and do all these things I was teaching in aerobics classes and didn't think that that was a big thing. But once I discovered obstacle course, I just felt alive and proud. And like they say, you'll know once you cross the finish line. And that's how I really got hooked in it, is just because of that moment in my life.
Yeah, it's always just interesting and fun to talk to other coaches and learn kind of how they got involved. And I got to hear, lots of different reasons. But I think it all kind of comes down to it. It's just a cool sport that kind of fills that void that a lot of people have for a lot of different reasons where they're just like something's missing or it just brings them out of wherever they were. So it's just always just really cool to see these stories and how the sport has really done so much for people. And I know that's one of the reasons I love being involved with it from the racing side and just being in the community and talking with other participants and coaches. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting, and being a part of that community and seeing people and how they achieve it is just it just is so inspirational. I just love it.
And I mean, hearing your story, it's just pretty neat. You've had a lot of obstacles, in the way, or being in Germany, and I just find that incredible. Not speaking the language and just saying, "I want to do this,"
Yeah.
and teaching yourself. I mean, that's just an incredible story and how much passion you must have for it, and just determination to like, hey, I'm going to just do this, even though I have this huge barrier.
Yeah, yeah. And it is true. Like, I think that's well, for me personally, every time, you feel like it's the end of something and you have to dig deep and figure out what is your calling, or what makes you happy. And fitness made me happy. I just had to figure out, like, I was just doing these little classes before, but once my life hit that huge obstacle, like, I didn't know what I was going to do, move back to Canada with my family, or I was a single mom of 2 kids. I felt so hopeless and so alone. And that's, and I became a personal trainer in that time. I realized, like, I can't be this stay-at-home mom anymore. I need to, and so I became a personal trainer and I started seeing results. But once I became a nutritionist, I was like, oh my goodness, like, that's where it's all pulling together. And then I thought, well, what am I going to do with these 3 things? And then when I did the obstacle course, it was so good because I did it when it was really new. So I just jumped into the elite heat, like, just jumped right in. And it was so awesome that I actually think I came in third in the elite. And it was amazing because it was just starting to get known. So
Yeah,
it was,
yeah.
and it just felt good for me because I had such low self-esteem that made me feel like, wow, I actually might be good at what I do. Like, all this, what I'm doing for myself is helping. And I want to help others achieve that.
Absolutely. That's a huge accomplishment, just jumping in and
Yeah.
having success there. So that's so cool. So I do want to bring up, so I know you had a pretty significant injury
Yeah.
and another obstacle that you had to overcome, but you were able to. So let us know a little bit about the injury that you suffered.
Yes. So, when I hit 40, that's when I started doing obstacle courses, which I totally loved. But then at about 45, I started getting these weird kind of injuries and I couldn't figure out really what it was. It was started off with the hamstring, finger pointing pain. And I did everything I thought was right. I mean, I teach Pilates. I thought I was good. My core strength was strong, but I just kept on getting this nagging pain, and it just got worse and worse. It wasn't one incident where I felt like, boom, you blew your back. It was just a constant, gradual pain that got worse and worse. And I stopped, like, I was doing acupuncture, everything you could possibly imagine, I tried doing. And then I finally got the MRI. And when he said you have a ruptured disc, L4, L5, and then I was like, of course, like, I could barely walk at this time. I could, from doing 15,000 steps a day, I was down to 2,000 steps a day. I could not stand longer than 2 minutes. My back would be killing me and I'd have to sit down. I was teaching classes on a Swiss ball, just saying, do this, do that. So, I mean, it was painful. And I started doing a McKenzie method, which is a great way to help naturally, have the bulging disc go back into place. I didn't even know that the discs could go back. I thought you had to have surgery, and I wanted surgery because I was experiencing such the biggest amount of pain I've ever experienced in my life. But they said, I went to 2 different doctors, and they said, if you can, just just wait it out, do what you can, and rest. And of course, I don't know what rest means. So, so that is so difficult. So I tried my best, and every time I'd go forward, it was like 4 steps back. So I'd start running, bang, I'd go back. So it was really McKenzie method. I found a great chiropractor that does some soft tissue mobilization skills with scraping and cupping. That helped me. At that time, CBD oil or anything like that, I didn't have that option. I would have done that for sure, but at that time, it wasn't available to me. But that helped a lot. And being in the pool every day, I would be in the pool, just being like, just submerging and doing nothing. It was really tough. It was time, rest. And I know everyone hates that word, is rest. The medication, painkillers did not work for me. It was just didn't work. But me being moving with the McKenzie method really helped. And then my chiropractor really helped me get through it. And time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just to give our listeners an idea, when you say time, just for you, from when let's say from when you got that diagnosis of what was going on to where you felt like you were finally over it, I mean, how long did that take?
Yeah, I think a year, 1 year. I
Mhm.
think 2 years in total, like playing around. Like I call it playing around because I didn't want to go to the doctor and figure it out. I thought, oh, I'll figure this out. I'll get massages. I'll do acupuncture. I'll do creams, potions, and I did everything, vitamins, and it just didn't help. And then it just got worse. And then that's when I finally said, okay, I'll do an MRI. And then I realized, okay, this is pretty serious. And he described it pretty well when he said, you have a scab, Gina, and every time you go forward too hard, you're opening up that scab and it starts to hurt again. So then when I really started thinking about it, I was like, okay, I can only walk. I can't really run. And it was kind of good timing for me because that's when we were in the pandemic and we were at home. So I couldn't work and I could just focus on myself. And that actually helped me just calm down, rest, walk, don't run yet, and take it easy.
Yeah, I love that scab analogy. I just think that's such a good way to look at it. And people have a hard time understanding when you have an injury, internally that you're not seeing. It's kind of like having a cut on your skin. And if you just go up and just keep rubbing that cut over and over again, it never gets that time to heal. And we have to think of those injuries as the same way. They take time. And there's things you can do, obviously, that are going to help. But that's the hardest part is there is a factor of time. And I think for some injuries, like you said, a year, maybe longer,
Yeah.
is that's what it's going to take. And I think what I'm hoping our listeners are getting from this is you didn't do nothing. It wasn't like a pity party. Obviously, we all go through those things where we're bummed you're
Yeah.
not doing the things that you want to do, but you
Mhm.
started to say, I can walk, I can get in the pool. And
Yeah.
I think that's the important thing is where am I at right now? Have your goal, like I want to get back to racing, I want to do these things, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But just going through this process, I think is really important because this is the quickest way to get back. A year might be quick
Yeah.
for this type of injury, or you just keep pushing through and now you don't have a choice. Now you have to have surgery
Yeah.
potentially. So
Yeah.
I just think that's a great message to put out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It does take a lot of patience, for sure. And being creative, where a trainer could help you, where you could just like, I did a lot of grip strength during that time because it felt so good just hanging. So decompressing my spine
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
I was, just holding on my grip strength and things like that. But I was lucky to have a pool. But, it is a really hard thing to do is to rest and take it
Yeah,
easy.
absolutely. But finding those things you can do, and like you can still work on things that won't interfere and cause problems. And I know, I dealt with the same thing last year in Tahoe. I tore my pec.
Mm,
It's not the same yet. It's
yeah,
pretty good. A lot of it's in my head too on how much I want to push it.
yeah,
But this whole time I've been able to do a lot of things. I just know the things that I are going to be at a high risk that I might re-injure it.
yeah,
So I'm just very cautious on those things. But there's a lot of other things that I have that right away I could do. So I
yeah,
just made sure this is what I'm going to focus on
yeah,
and get really good at these things. And then when the time comes, I'll get back to it. But there's always something you can do out there.
yeah. It's patience, and yeah, it does change your thought when you go into a race the next time. Is I'm always fearful of my back. It doesn't go away, and
Mhm.
this isn't my first back issue. This was I had warnings 10 years ago where I kind of hurt my back, and then this was bigger. So I'm always conscious of how I do things and think about my back first. And I'm not going to take a risk. Like if I do an obstacle course and I know it's going to hurt my back, the bucket carry is a killer for my back. So
Yeah, yeah.
I do the best I can and I brace my core, but that's the one I'm really scared of.
Yeah, and you just do the best you can, and just remember there's a cost if you push it too hard, and if you want to get back to racing and race often, sometimes you make those little sacrifices or you take breaks or whatever you need to do, and it's all good, right? You keep getting to race.
Right.
Awesome. So how you everything's pretty good now with those injuries, and you feel pretty recovered, other than still being cautious with things. You feel
Yeah.
pretty much in the clear.
Yeah. Well, I actually did get another MRI because I get these little scares. And he did take another MRI, and it was incredible to see the disc actually go back. Like it's slightly hanging out, but he
Hmm.
even said, like, this is awesome, Gina. Whatever you're doing, continue to do it. And I think I was all like core crazy, like working my abs all the time,
Hmm.
where I
Hmm.
really kind of was neglecting the reverse, the back. And so I
Sure. Yeah.
see now, like, just more working the multifidus and focusing on that. So it does help to, again, I'm always thinking about my back, and I still like the beast that's coming up, being on your feet for that long, to me, that I think back. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just, got to stretch up my back, do my squats, because that always helps stretching the back. So always thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And another thing too, I don't want to jump ahead yet. The fact that you got a diagnosis, I think, is such an important step. And
Yeah.
how, and I think we're all guilty of it, right? You have this thing going on, you're like, oh, I'm going to stretch or rest it a day or whatever, and then it just never quite goes away, and you keep guessing, and then you go online, and then you never want to go to like WebMD or in a Facebook group and have people try and diagnose you online. It's like, see a professional, and now you have an answer. Now you understand like what I should do, or at least have the best path that you can take to get over it as quickly as you can.
Yeah. Yeah. I basically did that for a year, and I wasted thousands of dollars of
Mm,
playing around with all these different like massage therapists, and it was just not helping. And I don't know, denial, I guess. I didn't want to think that it could be anything. I don't know why I didn't
yeah.
just go.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're all guilty of it. So this is a nice thing for hopefully others to learn from our mistakes, is when you have those injuries, find out what's going on, because you're
Yeah.
going to be able to solve it way faster.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, well, I need to get to Greece, because I've been there once and it is
Ah,
amazing. So
yes.
I want to hear about the Spartan event out there, and
Yeah.
just uh, everything that you're willing to share. But I guess first, let's just start like your overall experience. Just how did it go? What did you think?
Yeah, well, it was a birthday present because I just turned 50, and my husband was like, what better way to celebrate my 50th would be, because I love Spartan, the whole thing. I'm a geek when it comes to all of that. But when he said, like, let's go to Sparta, where it originated from, and I was just so excited. So and I wanted to really absorb everything. I did not want to go into the competition. Actually have not done a trifecta in 1 year. This will be my first year doing a trifecta in 1 year, because my back always pulled me away from it. Like it was always an injury. By the time that beast came, I was injured. But
Yeah.
anyway, so it was just an amazing experience. Absolutely. It was, when we arrived for opening ceremonies, it had an Olympic feeling. Like it was the Olympics. Like these countries, I think it was 78 countries that were being represented, and 3,000 participants that were there. Um, it was just amazing seeing all these different countries, everyone cheering, all their uniforms all matching. It was a great experience. And then running through and seeing them going through the town Sparta really embraces the Spartan race. They have it situated right through their town center. There's restaurants and cafes. The old, the young are all sitting there drinking and cheering us on, going, bravo, bravo. And little
Yeah.
kids are coming up, giving us fist pumps. Like I was in the last heat. Like this was the last heat. All the professionals have already ran through, and they were still cheering us on like we were heroes and giving
Super
us,
cool.
oh my gosh, and going through the little towns, and they were stopping and giving us applause. Like I have never felt so, like it was a spiritual event. Like it was amazing. So I did feel like an Olympian, even though I was just running in an open heat, the last one.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, and I think that's such a big part of, any Spartan race. But when you're in an environment like that, to be able to, do the race, but really just sit back, take it in,
Yeah.
have fun with it, and just
Yes.
be in a place that there's just, you're not going to experience that very often, if,
No.
maybe once in a lifetime. So that's such a cool thing to get to do. Um,
Yes. I
So
ran
was
it with
it, would
my
you,
husband. Sorry. I ran it with my husband and he was able to video me because I've usually run through these things so fast that you don't even take the time. So that was super special where he literally videoed me going through these obstacles and getting through them because I wanted to focus on, I said, I want to enjoy this, but I want to focus on the obstacles. This is a great time to get through the bender and all these different obstacles and do
Mhm.
well. So that was also a great moment to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And to do it together.
Yeah.
We were supposed to do Italy in 2020, so that never happened,
Oh,
unfortunately. So we're just trying to hopefully figure out the next one somewhere out there, just someplace new to get to experience a race like that. It would be awesome.
yeah.
So was it if with the obstacles, was it pretty much what we would see in the States? Was it significantly different? Anything kind of
Um,
cool out
I
there?
I thought well the spear throw was I think it was the old school spear throw where they just wrapped like haystacks. So by the time you came to it, it had a bunch of holes in it, and the spear was warped like in a semicircle. Of course, I failed that obstacle. So when I threw it, it was like, it went like around
Like
the
a
corner.
boomerang. Yeah.
They said that that was the highest failure obstacle of the whole event was the spear throw. But luckily for the beast, they renewed. They had brand new spears and they wrapped it up again. So that was good
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
was a miserable day for the beast. It was pouring rain, full of mud.
Mhm.
Also, I've never seen the chain before. It's this massive chain that you put over your neck and you walk around. That was brutal for me. I didn't even put it on my shoulders. I knew that I would compress my spine and I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah, yeah.
no way. But I've never seen that before. So maybe you
Hmm.
have.
No, no, I've never seen a chain obstacle. Could you carry it any way you wanted? Did like
Yeah,
could
you
you
had to
drag
pull it
it
out.
or
I think it was actually it was if you failed the obstacle, you had to carry the chain around your neck for
okay.
a little loop. um, which I was struggling. Like I couldn't even get it out. It weighed like to me, it felt like 100 pounds. I was trying to pull it out of there, and it was not happening. But I talked to other people that were from America, and they were like, they called it more like old school Spartan races. So
Yeah,
their
yeah.
thing was it was more rough, harder,
Mhm.
a little bit more brutal compared to the U.S. So that's what
Gotcha.
they had commented on.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the only thing I can remember with a chain, I remember one of the first ones I've done, they had this one obstacle that it was a chain attached to like a stone or a cinder block or something, and you had to like drag it up this hill and then drag it down, and just very awkward and
Yeah,
heavy. But yeah, nothing else like that with the chain. That's pretty cool.
yeah,
How was the like the terrain? So you mentioned going through the city, which is really cool.
yeah.
Was it mountainous, countryside? What kind of scenery did
Yeah,
you get?
we went through a river multiple times. Sorry, I don't remember
Of
the name of the
course.
river.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. We very much rocky terrain, the cobble, like old ancient Sparta. So the cobblestone was actually really
Mhm.
hard. Just your
Okay. Yeah.
ankle was going back and forth through the terrain there. So you did have different styles, like just a little bit of concrete through the streets, not too much hill. Like I was in to Monterey's race, the sprint. That was a huge climb up. This one was definitely flatter, but still a little bit of hills, more valley side.
Gotcha, gotcha. And then you just take in that scenery as you're going, which
Oh,
is, I'm sure, incredible.
yeah, it was. I mean, just going through ancient Sparta was it just gave me chills. And to know that battles were fought there before us and just the whole Spartan belief. So I truly enjoyed it. It was just a wonderful experience.
Awesome. Did you get to hang out there for some time, either before or after the race, and just explore and enjoy
Yes,
it?
yes, of course. After the race, we did go to the we went to a winery, an organic winery. So that was fun. We also went to just some little bit of sightseeing, the caves of Dios. So it was just a little bit that we could travel close by that wasn't too far away.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I wanted to do more hikes, and we had such a rainy day. But I thought there's so many castles that you could explore. So I definitely wanted to explore more hikes and do some castles. But we were only there for such a short time.
Yeah, you'll just have to go back then, right?
Yes.
Um, I and now you have another big event coming up with
Yes.
the DECA World Championship. So I'd love to
Yes.
talk about that a little bit too.
Yeah.
So are you competing? Which are you doing multiple events there, or
Yes.
which races are you competing in?
Doing in two events. I'm doing the DECA Fit and the DECA Mile. I actually qualified in the end for the DECA Strong. I mean, I was number 25, but I don't want to do that one. That's not my favorite one. The other
Okay.
two, I like the running in between.
Hmm.
So those are my two events that I'm leaving tomorrow to perform in my age group. So I'm super excited because when I did the DECA Fit, I actually just recovered from COVID. So I wasn't my best and I didn't perform spectacular. I just finished it and I felt good. I just didn't want to overdo it. So
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to be roll down, like qualified. But I knew just by that I could definitely take 5 minutes off of my mark because I was purposely going slower. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
the DECA mile, I'm super excited about because I still am eighth place overall. So I feel like that might be my best performance. So I'm just so pleased, and I just love DECA. I actually ended up becoming certified in DECA because, again, I just anytime I learn something, I want to know everything about it. Just because it's great for people that want to have a mark and then they keep on improving it, and it's just and they make you feel special. Like it's great, like to have these people being able to go to an event and to participate in a world championship. So, and all age groups. I'm a total fan of age group medals.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we had at my studio, one of my clients, 73, and his daughter-in-law wanted to do um the DECA mile. And he was like, I don't know, maybe, and it was kind of back and forth. And I told him I looked at the leaderboard and there was only two 70 to 75-year-olds on there. So I'm like, listen, you can take 5 hours if you want. You're going to be at least number three.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that really motivated him too much, but he's like, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. So so
Nice.
he's I haven't looked in a little while, but he was third.
Oh, that's so
And
cool.
he did it again and beat his time by a little bit. So it was just cool, right? It's just
Yeah.
competing against himself, really.
Yeah.
But just to see, hey, not that many people are even doing this, and that says a lot about your ability right now. Is that you can do this, and you did
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. It is a great event because it's safe. That's number one. I always think it's a safe workout. We all work out in the gym some way, somehow. So it's very
yeah,
achievable to go to and
mhm,
then to give these opportunities to these small gyms to be able
mhm,
to do the two events there and then
yeah,
take it to a bigger event and then to take it to one more step further for the world championship. It's just a great business idea and it
yeah,
really helps people being motivated. So I'm a huge fan. It's just
yeah.
great to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And like me personally, with my injury, I haven't been able to race much for many of the obstacles. Just I'm not 100% ready for them yet.
Mhm.
But and I know me, and if I go out there, I'm gonna try and push too hard. So I'm
Yeah,
just trying to be cautious. But with the DECA stuff, I feel great. Nothing there, and I
yeah,
could test it all out. We have the equipment, so I can just see. Feel pretty good doing this, and
yeah,
I can push it, and I have no problem there. So I kind of made that switch over this year. I'd like to get back on the course as well,
yeah,
but at least I have something that's really kind of pushing my training right now, which is always a good thing.
for sure. And for
So
me, this is my DECA. After DECA, I'm going to have the Beast in Florida. So that's December 9th, I think it is, or 10th.
yeah,
That'll be the final for me, the trifecta of my, and I don't normally stack my races like this. I like to have my favorite race and then kind of do my little resting in between. Um,
yeah,
but just the way the cards fell, but I feel like it's not too bad because DECA is totally different from what is expected for the
yeah,
Beast. So I think my training will be okay to get to the beast in
Yeah, and
December.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about that because I know a lot of people do this, right? Where they have a beast or a longer race or even a sprint and maybe a deca thrown in there. And obviously training for each will help each other, but is there anything, in particular you're trying to do right now to help prepare for you have this big world championship, but right behind it, you need to be also ready for that longer event.
Yeah.
So kind of what's your thought process trying to plan for different things like that?
Yeah, well, I just picked my favorite race. So my favorite race to perform the best would be DECA.
Mhm.
Second, I'm actually going to be in the age group heat for the Beast. So that one I'm most scared of, but it will be, I still want to, achieve it and still work hard on it. So just being able to understand that my gears won't be as fast. So I've been trying to run a little bit further, longer, but slower. So that's how I've kind of like will be shifting my training. Will be a little bit slower in longer distances because it's that half marathon, but
Yeah.
it's in intervals. It's not like a continuous, which I wouldn't do. But so I think that's going to help me knowing that I'll have breaks in between that running period. But yeah, that race scares me. There's no, I've done the virtual, like when we were in lockdown, I did the beast on my own and that was hard. I did it honestly. So, that was again, when my back was bad. So like I was just recovering from my back. So I was slowly doing it. So this one it'll be tough, but once I saw everyone in Sparta, Greece and all sizes, all ages doing a trifecta in one weekend, I was like, oh, please, I can do this. So I was like, I'm not going to complain. I got this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you're leaving tomorrow, you said. What was your plan kind of for this week just to prep for such a big event for yourself?
Um, so I last workout was yesterday for me, and I just worked on high intensity interval training. So I just wanted to make sure that, being comfortable with my heart rate elevated. I only had one opportunity to do the whole kind of like mock by myself. There's only one gym that offers it, and it's an hour away. My gym that I coach at, we have partial equipment. So I got to train on there. So I would just do like the bike and the farmer's carry, and little things like that. And then at my home, I still have the box jump overs, so I was practicing the box. So I kind of split it into little groups and focused on, like, at another gym I would work on the rower. So I had basically 4 different gyms I had to go to to
Hey, that
get
works.
trained.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but it keeps it interesting, keeps it fun.
Mhm.
So that's how I trained for it.
Okay, awesome. And then, so when you get back, so you're gonna have to recover a little bit, and then you got your eyes on that beast. Any thoughts on kind of your plan to get back into it, or you're gonna take some time off, or you just need to get right to it?
When I get back from DECA.
Yeah, and then start getting ready for the beast, like
Yeah,
the week you get back.
yeah. Well,
What's your kind of plan to resume again?
yeah. So definitely, as a woman turning 50, I realize that I do need to rest and making
Mhm.
sure, like, nighttime is really different. Well, not all women are the same, but at nighttime, I go through night sweats and hot flashes. And so I'm going through all these experiences. So number one is rest. So I'll see how I'm feeling and see how much sleep I'm getting, because I feel if I'm not getting my sleep, everything is going to fall apart. So I might take a week off and then understand that that's okay. And that I'll just slowly get back into it and start running the distances. I just want to make sure that I'm not going to get hurt in that race, and making sure that cardiovascular, I feel like I'll be okay, because you can always walk it. You don't have to
Yeah.
run the whole thing. Again, remembering that I'm doing my age group. So it's other women who are going through the exact same thing as me, is 50 years old to 54. So just to put things into perspective, I think for me, it's a mental game. I'm hard on myself, but in this environment, I just have to realize that it's okay and I got to do what I can do.
Absolutely. I think that's great advice. And it's okay to rest. And sometimes resting is exactly what you need, and you're going to bounce back stronger and be ready mentally and physically versus trying to come back and push through craziness. And now you're hurt and you're dealing with a knee issue or a back issue and now trying to get through the race. So I just think keeping those priorities right and knowing your body and keeping everything in perspective is going to
Yeah.
be ideal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before I let you go, I always love asking, what's if we let's focus on that beast right now. What's the least favorite thing? I think you mentioned the bucket, but any other obstacles that you're just not looking forward to that much?
Oh, gosh, now my mind just went blank. It's the, I don't know if it's the, it's like the wall that's on an angle and you have to have a chain and then there's
Oh, the
holes.
Olympus.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
I did that. I failed that one in Greece. And so
Mhm.
that one I just cannot get a grip. I slide. It's just a mess. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think many will agree. That's the one I hurt myself on. So
oh my
um
gosh, that
yeah,
sucks.
yeah. They've really made that one a difficult one.
Yeah,
So
is it like slippery now? Like there's no
yeah,
shoes that can get on there? Like I don't
it's tough. You
understand.
got to get really high and hold on tight. And if it's wet,
Yeah, you're
just
doomed.
do the best you can. And if you fall off, you fall off. Don't do what I did and try and hang on with one arm and and hurt
Oh,
yourself.
oh, that
But
sucks.
well, let's turn around. So what are you looking forward to? What's your favorite obstacle that you're gonna see?
Um, I mean, it's, I love the rope climb. It just makes me feel strong, and I can do that one. So it's
Yeah.
obviously a good one. And you just look at it and making sure it's dry, like little things you got to think about because sometimes they're completely wet and you could slip right off. And getting your footing right and the J climb is what I like to do. I love the monkey bars too, but I obviously don't like the multi rig where there's like ropes and chains. Oh, I don't like the anytime I have to lachey, that's tough. Those ones
Yeah,
are
yeah,
scary. Um,
absolutely. Yeah,
but yeah, so there's many that I like. Obviously, the spear throw, that's a mental game, man. It's all
sure.
mental.
Yeah, yeah. Well, awesome. Well, if some of our listeners want to learn more about you and maybe just check out some of the pictures from Greece and some of your other races, where can they learn more about you?
Well, I actually am on Facebook or Instagram under Gina Core Fit or Gina Core Fitness. But yeah, that's where I have my personal training business is there, and I do clients online, also in person here in Seminole, Florida. And then I also coach at ISI Elite Training, which I'm really loving that style of training. It's very similar to Spartan's Beliefs. So I like coaching there too. But yeah, so those are my two places that I'm feeling my best at right now.
Awesome, awesome. So I'll put links too, so make it easier for people to find you on there. But thank you so much for coming on today and sharing some of your thoughts and experiences, and hopefully our listeners got a lot out of this.
Oh, well, thank you. And I do want to say one thing. I wish your podcasts were counted as continuing education. I think you should put that forward and see if we can get that because, you have so much knowledge and it's always great to listen to you. For one, you never put me to sleep. So I like listening to your voice as it,
All right.
you can make that information very boring, but you do a great job. So I just wanted to say thank you for doing what you do
Yeah.
because you've kept me motivated. You've taught me so much. So thank you.
Oh, I appreciate it. And if I can ever get CCs for this stuff, I'll let you know. That'd be awesome.
Okay. Good. Sounds good. Awesome.